Hello, other Disney adults. It is me, a Disney adult. Today we are going to be doing a restoration on a 1995 Thinkway Toys Woody doll.
Hello!
As usual, I don't know what I'm doing.
I am a woman of my own destiny.
I am going to try my best to restore him and make him talk again. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and thank you so much for joining me for my Disney themed week here on my channel. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm wearing my Disney shirt. I'm ready to go. I've got my Mickey Mouse right there.
Don't you have to be stupid somewhere else?
Not until 4.
I hope you all enjoy this kind of content. I will be making more of it because I personally do enjoy it and going outside of my comfort zone to create things. This is pretty far out of my comfort zone. But you know, fake it till you make it. It was only until after my restoration that I saw another restoration of a talking Woody doll. But they didn't make him talk again using his original voice box, which I did, so slay. To be honest, our restorations couldn't be any more different. But as I've said on this channel before, there is more than one way to cooking an egg. Let's get on to the video. Okay, so today we are going to be restoring this 1995 Thinkway Toys Toy Story Pixar Sheriff Woody. Yeah, he's like a rootin' tootin' cowboy. I did not have him as a child. My cousin did, and I had Bo Peep. So I still have Bo Peep. And now I have her Boo Fang. I didn't know that he was the first edition until I actually purchased him. And I did some research on my own, and I was like, oh, he's got wires. I was like, that's cool. I didn't know that they came with wires. Well, apparently the first edition came with wires, a smaller talking ring, and then also came with spurs. So that is something interesting about him. Now we can go ahead and look at his condition right now. You can see he's a little bit janky, and I accidentally dropped him and then a white mark showed up. Oops. So see how that could come out. He's like, oh damn, I'm with Sid. I'm over here trying to pretend to be like the restorationist from Toy Story 2, and I'm just like turn out being Sid, but you know, whatever. Anyway, super cool. That sheriff badge. I wonder if it was like all that bronze color and he's just faded over time, which I'm sure he has. He looks like he's seen a life. Now, the guy who I purchased him off of actually said that he was in the box, but the box was so torn up that they did remove him. And I was like, yeah. But then like he also said that he didn't talk anymore because his battery's corroded. And I was like, well, did you try rubbing alcohol to get out the corrosion? And he said no, so I'm hoping that still works. So before I really get into the nitty gritty and restore him by like washing him and all that, I'm going to see if he still works, because if he doesn't, I'm probably not going to be that careful. And if he does, then I will be super careful. So yeah. Which these can be changed out anyway, so I could just find another Thinkway Toys Woody doll and change this out. There are ways of doing that. But yeah, so like right above his pocket, you can see like there's a hole right there. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to restore him a little bit better, and just make him look brand new and sparkly, because I honestly do want a Sheriff Woody doll. I've wanted one for a bit, but they are so expensive online and I don't want to pay that much.
Hello! I like money!
Toy Story was a really fun movie for me. I just remember loving it. It just was a very chill movie where I could just like sit down and my little ADHD brain could just relax and see toys. And plus, I loved my toys, so I found it very entertaining. I know a lot of people that seen Toy Story, they're like, oh, you know, it's their fault that I think my toys are alive and all that. And I'm like, grow up. I never thought that they would. I never thought that my toys would come alive. And Honest to God, like if they did, I thought to myself, it was like, they're gonna love me. I make them clothes and do all this fun stuff with them. And honestly, like I just really played with them to hell. But anywho, let's go ahead and see if we can get this doll restored. And let's begin by trying to go into his voice box and see if we can see what's going on in there. Okay, so so one of these, I think it's this one right here. One of these are what the battery goes into. Is it this one? Damn, I really don't know. Let's see. I don't remember this part in the movie. It's gotta be this one, right? Yeah, it's gotta be. Okay, let's see here. Get out of there. Get out of there, fool. If I did have to take this out, let me just see. I did have to take, oh, cool. Okay. You see this? This is possible. I could wash him like this. I could surface wash the hell out of this. This is so doable. Okay. And then we've got this, like you see like that rip right there? Wow, that like is a clear rip. Looks like there's pieces missing. Which is something common that I've seen with some of these Thinkway Toys Woody dolls. I'd say it depends on how they were stored and how much they were used. But ultimately, I have no real idea as to why the fabric is dry rotting. To him, I would just have to replace the denim and make a patch, to be honest with you. I wonder if I could take off this belt because that would really help. If I could take that off, let's see. Glued on, or so, I think it's like glued on. There's like this little patch underneath, but I'm sure that's glued on. Maybe it is. Let's see. Either way, it needs to be repainted as well. There's like a bit of plastic in there. We're gonna see. Well, we'll see. Maybe we won't have to. I'm gonna try not to. Maybe I could work around it. I'm gonna try to get that fixed because I don't like the looks of that.
I don't like the look of it.
But anywho, let's open him up. Little Sheriff Woody. He is so cute. If you're curious what their voice box looks like, there it is. I'll just stick this back in there for now, so that way we can test it and see what will happen. Let's go ahead and open that up, like so. Nice, look at that, ooh. Okay, so the seller did tell me, I found this at the flea market today, the seller did tell me that the stall had battery corrosion, and he tested it out and it didn't work because the batteries were corroded. Oh. Oh no. Oh, that's bad. Okay, so this is so bad. I only brought one Q-tip, thinking that it would just take one Q-tip. So I'm gonna take some rubbing alcohol and then put it on my Q-tip. Got that on the floor. Fix that in a minute. I'm gonna rub this on the metal bits over here. Right, it's wishful thinking, but wow, that is so corroded. Oh, I really don't think he's gonna work. If he works, he will be just indestructible, I feel, but I really don't think he's gonna work. Also, I'm trying a new tripod, and it's one of those that is like a POV, so if it's like shaking ferociously, it's because your girl is moving. She's moving and grooving and all that. I might need another Q-tip. Wow, this is like so freaking dirty, but at least you can see the metal now, right? That's an improvement, right? Let's see, this Q-tip still looks a little clean. I mean, I wouldn't use it on my ears, but use it on Woody's ears. Just go ahead and clean up all that battery corrosion with it. Try to get it all off. I heard a squeak. I have restored actual classic talking dolls from the 1960s. And their voice mechanism is very different than this. Theirs is more like a genuine record player. Look at this over here. Do you see this? Is this like corroded too? What is that? What is all that? You know, it might just be corrosion as well. That's not fun. This is not gonna work. Like I'm already telling you all this is not gonna work. Okay, so let's see. Cross your fingers. No. Either I didn't do a very good job cleaning, which is so possible, or he like for real doesn't work. I could buy another Thinkway Toys Woody offline and just like swap their voice boxes. I'm gonna say a big fat no to that one because that's just way too expensive. I'm actually going to try to clean it again with a different Q-tip and see if I have any different results. Okay, so I read online.
I'm a professional woman.
That, which, you know, is always for the best. White vinegar and rubbing alcohol. So not just rubbing alcohol, but white vinegar. So you can see like how much I've gotten off with just like white vinegar. But when you put it on battery corrosion, it bubbles up, which was like the weirdest thing ever. But like it's getting pretty clean in there. So I'm hoping that this will work, and I just keep saturating it with white vinegar, and then whenever I'm ready to clean it all off, I'm going to go in with my rubbing alcohol. Sad news. So you see that little wire bit right up in there? Well, that whole wire is corroded, and you can see it traveling all the way up right into this little toy box. So you can see like where the corrosion has stopped and where it's begun. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I know what I'm doing, because like I have no idea what I'm doing, like no unearthly idea what I'm doing. I don't do electronics. But I tried to put it in there, and I unfolded it to put it back in there, and whenever I touched it, it broke right off. So I'm like, oh, and it's bad, and it's just like all corroded, and you can see it. So I'm going to try something else. I did look on eBay to see other Woodies. However, they all have different toy boxes than this first edition. Like, he's a first edition, and so later on, just like with Chatty Cathy dolls, like they all vary. So I could find another Thinkway Toys Woody, but if it's not the same Woody posable doll, then the battery compartment and everything else will be different. So things to ponder, things to think about over here. So I got Miss Fancy Pants. Oh man. So I actually soldered this on there, and he worked for a split second. So I'm gonna see if I can solder it on again and see what works. Unfortunately, the little piece that was on there broke off. So I'm not able to clamp it down with anything that's around me right now. So I'm gonna have to get creative once more and figure out what to do. Barbie's saying, we girls can do anything, right, Barbie? Yes, Barbie, we can, because listen. Okay, so like it's not loud, but it's still something. It is better than nothing. I will take it. I'm going to try to put this up as gently as I possibly can, so that way I don't irritate any of the wiring I just did. But in case I do, at least we know that I did get it to work for at least 5 minutes. So that's fun. So now I can move on to actually getting the stall all, you know, washed up. Probably should have done this after I start handling the doll like I'm about to handle it. Probably wasn't that smart on my part, but you know, here we are. When it came to cleaning him, I mean, it really could have been a daunting task. But thankfully it wasn't to me, as I have experience with cleaning a wide variety of dolls. Speaking of which, I do have them all recorded and on my YouTube channel, which I do recommend you go through and look at all of my videos. And on there you will see some very fun and very extreme restorations. Although this doll is a talking doll, at the end of the day, he still is a doll. Therefore, I'm going to clean him as such as I do my other dolls. I'm cleaning him with Dawn dish soap, which you can use any dish soap of your liking, mixed with baking soda, a old soft bristle toothbrush. You don't want to take the toothbrush in a swiping motion, you want to make it go in a circular motion. The baking soda almost acts like a fine sandpaper, but not sandpapery enough to ruin your doll's vinyl and or paint. If you look at your doll before you start washing it and you can tell that the paint is chipping, you want to be extra careful in those painted areas. But this doll is from the 90s, which makes him near indestructible. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a talking doll, and I actually did not take out his talking mechanism. Wrap that securely in saran wrap and then put it inside a Ziploc bag for extra protection. But there is a way that you can actually take out the talking mechanism of this Woody doll. I just figured this way would be a lot more user-friendly, and honestly, I think I was right, because I've already done my technical part of this restoration. The rest of this restoration I was hoping would be a same old type situation. What I'm mainly doing here first is washing all of the plastic pieces, and I will wash all of the cloth pieces later. I like to start with all of the plastic pieces whenever I am restoring a cloth doll. That way I don't have to go back in with the baking soda later and then cause another mess. To wash Woody, I'm using baking soda, laundry detergent, and hot boiling water. I'm going to mix all that up using a spoon, and I'm going to let the water sit a little bit and cure to the soap. I'm going to wash his bandana first, as I know that it does stain. It did leave a little stain around his neck, and when it's done, I'm going to go and dunk him in. And when I'm doing this, I'm going to start pressing and squeezing the plush. Because he does have his talking mechanism still connected to him, I cannot leave him soaked, which is definitely for the best, since the cow print vest is actually flocked fabric, and flocked fabric does not do very well with warm water, nor does it do well with OxiClean. It starts to lift it, especially whenever it's been sitting and soaking for 5 minutes or more. And after I'm done, and after I feel like I've done a suffice enough job, I'm going to squeeze out the excess dirty water, and then I'm going to rinse him off. I'm going to make sure that this water is going to penetrate all of that plush. You want to make sure that you get down in there, because if you do not take the stuffing out, it still will be dirty and it will cling onto everything. And to make sure that we're doing a really good job, we're going to do this again, but this time with Dawn dish soap. That will help get out any grease, as well as leave him looking sparkly and smelling brand new. Now, if you are doing this with a more vintage plush doll, I do recommend that you take out all the stuffing. Sometimes that stuffing will expand, and then it will rip and ruin the fabric. And trust me, I've made that mistake before, and it was so very sad. So that's just a warning, just so that you don't do this with a very vintage doll and then ruin it. But the more we learn, the more we grow, and that just means we're only getting better. And after we're done rinsing him off for the last time, I think that we are good to let him air dry. I have him chilling here on a very thick towel, and I'm pressing down on him with one of those fiber cloths, and this is just to help him dry a lot faster and more consistently. And so far, might I add, he looks really good. Okay, so now Woody is completely dry, but now that he's dry, I do see that he's got like a couple stains on his vest still, and then one stain right here. Is it a big deal? Not really, but I want to see if I can get it out. So I think I'm going to do some light cleaning, and what I'm going to use is actually this OxiClean Max Force. So I'm going to just spray it lightly on the parts where I think that he needs it, so right there. And I'm just going to smear it on like so. And I'm going to spot clean this actually, so I'm not going to submerge him anymore. There you go. One right here on his wrist. Now, this could be a rust stain, probably from the wire that's inside of him. We'll see if we can get that out. Again, I didn't really recognize it whenever he was in his original state, but maybe that's because he was still quite a dirty boy.
Oh, a soiled wig.
So, but anyway, yeah, that is super stellar. So I left on the original plastic on his neck because you can see where the stain is from his bandana. So I'm just gonna leave that on there. That way there's no further staining. But yeah, super, super cute. We're gonna have him done in a jiffy. But after this is done setting and I've got like the water and stuff to put on it, then I'm going to go ahead and start repainting him. After an hour or so, I'm gonna go back in with a damp cloth and just sponge out any of that OxyClean. The water I'm using is actually pretty hot, so just keep that in mind. When I clean my dolls or any types of toys, I do like to use hot water. And as I stated, I will be spot cleaning it, so after it's dry, I will see if the spot cleaning worked or if there's some more cleaning that needs to be done. But with this particular area on him, I am being extra mindful right now not to really disturb the flocking, as I don't even want to begin to tell you how to restore flocked fabric. Break time! Yay! What is one of my projects if I do not take time to procrastinate? What better way to procrastinate than play Epic Mickey? But I'm not doing this alone, you see. I got Woody right there. He's gonna play with me. And then of course, I made my own antique looking Mickey Mouse doll from a pattern I found online. Ooh, look at that. Oh my God, we're gonna have so much fun.
Many months later.
What a lovely break we had. Okay, so now we can get back to restoring this Woody. So I've come over here to my little workshop and you can see that he's got some paint missing on his buttons, some paint missing on his hair, which would happen. He's got like a little mark down here that we'll have to get rid of. It looks like some extra paint that's yellow. He's got some missing eyebrows going on. If we go to the back, like I'm not so concerned with the back. You can see like his belt right here. It's also missing some paint. He's just like missing some paint places, but we could totally fix it. But before we do that, on the back, it looks like somebody like literally chewed up his ass.
Oh, scandalous!
And we're gonna have to fix that. And I would ideally like to remove this belt, but it's actually held in with thread right here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's held in with thread right there. Which usually I could just cut this, but I've tried to take off this belt piece, but I can't get it to come off. And I should have done it with like whenever I had all of my hot water out, but I'm afraid of actually breaking it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to work around it. So if we lift this up right here, there's enough room for me to actually like get a piece of fabric back here and make a patch and sew it on. But you can see like the fabric back here is just dry rotted and it's frayed. And for some reason, like back here, this little patch was the worst. But over here, like anywhere else on the fabric, it's fine. So it's a little strange that this was the only place, like right here in this little corner was, you know, dry rotted and the rest of it's fine. His voice is still working perfectly, so we've got that going.
There's a snake in my boot.
There sure is. And I'm so happy that I got him to speak again. I was really nervous about that. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and try our best to make a patch. Now, I don't have the original fabric for this Woody doll, and I could have outsourced some more TLC Woodies to get like a perfect patch, but honestly, I would have felt bad for those dolls too. There's something about Woody that really hits home with me and reminds me of my childhood for some strange reason. Well, obviously it was like around in my childhood.
Sure makes you appreciate the preciousness of life.
I just really resonate with him more than I ever had with Buzz. And anytime that I see them out in the wild and they look like decrepit like this one did, I like am so tempted to just try to save them all, but you know, you can't save them all. So yeah, I could have outsourced for a patch, but I probably would have ended up trying to save that one too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this fabric, which is the same type of faux denim. It is like real denim like this right here. That's like a real denim, but it's got like more of a cottony feel to it, just like this patch. And I don't think you're going to be able to really tell that much because majority of the patch will be under the belt. So I think that this is perfect. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually measure out the patch. So you can take out your measuring tape. For instance. Since he's got wires, you know, you can pose his arms like anyway. This is so cool. Like, again, I had no idea that the first edition even came with wires, so it's pretty convenient to me. Okay, so it's about a 1/2 inch wide, and then it goes under this pocket too. So we'll try to use that. And then it needs to be, let's say, right about there. That's where we'll cut it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down in here wherever I have cut this fabric before. I actually don't think I've ever cut this fabric before. It's probably because, like, even looking at it right now, like, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it looks very, no offense, but it looks very holiness.
Oh, scandalous!
Like, this looks like a jean skirt situation. So I'm just gonna cut off this right here because I won't need it with anything I do. Okay, so I'm gonna cut off a patch. We're going to get, like I said, 1/2 inch. Boop. And then we're going to go up more than 1/2 inch. So right about up here. There we go. Okay, so we've got the patch right here. So I'm not going to sew it on top like that. I'm actually going to try to stuff this in between the actual fabric piece right here and some of the stuffing. I'm also going to probably put a little bit more stuffing back here so that way it's not so flat. I'm not going to give him a BBL, girls. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn him into a Pixar mom. But I'm going to stuff just a little bit more in there because, you know, there's a high probability that some have fallen out of this side too, and it will also push up the battery pack on the inside so that way his head doesn't get all floppy. If you made it this far in the video, have you thought about subscribing? It's free, you know, just saying. Okay, so we got some stuffing here, and I'm just going to take it apart like in little sections. And the reason I didn't go ahead and repaint him is because I'm doing a lot of putting his head down and such. Now, ideally, this would be a lot easier if there was no belt, but I can't figure out how to take it off, and I don't want to cause it to break. So I'm just going to stuff in here. It does feel rather empty on this side, so maybe that's like also kind of what happens. There we go. I think that is enough. There we go. Check that out. I think it's so cool though that he actually has real pockets. Like, these are real pockets back here. And again, like, you know, when you're a kid and you have this doll, like, you don't really recognize that. You don't really recognize that when you're a kid. I'm just gonna add a little bit more stuffing in here so that way it matches that other side. Go ahead and stuff that up in there. There we go. Also, I got this a long time ago, this little wind stick. It comes with like all the polyfill bags, but I've had this so long and I've used it for like a lot of projects, and you can see like all the paint on it and stuff. I'm really surprised that I still even have this because it's very, very cheap. But anyway, just in case you're wondering like where I'm getting these tools, I've had them forever. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stuff this. I might actually need that again. I'm going to stuff this on the inside. Let me make sure actually where, because this weighs 1.5 inches. Okay, so it needs to go up like this, right? So I'm going to take this, I'm just kind of like going to stuff this on the inside, like right here. Boop, if I can. Ugh, might not even need to use that tool, might need to use my hands somehow. Okay, Woody, you and your wires. Now, I'm being kind of careful with these wires because I have some issues with wires in the past before, like where I'll move them too much and then they break. And I don't want that to happen. Because that's what makes him special. All right. Okay, so we've kind of got that going on. Tempted. Boop, there we go. Okay, slay. All right. Now we can actually reach on the inside of this, at least. And get it to sit right where we want it. Okay. See, that's looking better. Awesome. It's a good choice. Sometimes I make good choices. Okay, so this is how we want the patch to look and sit on our doll. Like right here. Okay. And this is when we're going to start our sewing journey, just to make sure that it does not leave where I want it. And it goes exactly where it's supposed to. I am going to pin some of this down. Like so. That'll do it some good. Probably before I pin this pouch, or this pocket rather, I will sew the actual fabric that's underneath together, and then I will sew the pocket onto the fabric itself. Okay, and again, that's just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And we're gonna have to, if you can see, that is a big size hole. Girl, what were you doing? Woody was clubbing, and he fucked around and found out.
Unacceptable condition!
Okay, now that we have our needle and thread all ready, I'm going to go in right here. I'm using a very sharp needle, by the way. This is actually for beading, but I like it because it's extra long.
Oh!
I'm gonna pull to possibly right there is fine. And again, what I'm going to do, gonna go out and loop. This is going to be a very tiny patch. When you're sewing, as I know it's kind of a lost art, not many people do it anymore, just take your time and understand that your first try is not going to be perfect. And that goes for anything new that you try. Allow yourself a little bit of grace and don't get too frustrated if it doesn't turn out exactly the way that you want. Take it as a learning opportunity, and you never know, you might end up really liking it. And eventually, as time goes on and you get more and more experience, you can be more critical of your work. As again, take this as a learning opportunity, something sort of therapeutic for you to do. And that's for anything that you're sewing or any new project that you're starting to make a little venture on. Like with this project, for example, this is my first time ever restoring a Toy Story Woody doll. I'm sure that there were some questionable decisions with what I used to restore things with and what I did to restore, and I'm sure that there's going to be people whose like whole collection is restored Woody dolls or restored Toy Story dolls, and I'm sure I did it differently than most of those people do. But I allow myself that grace, and I allow myself to make a mistake so that way I'm able to learn. So maybe later on down the road, if I do run into another case like this, I don't feel so intimidated by that project, as I will have a better understanding of what I'm dealing with, what I'm working with, and how to fix it. So do I think Al's Toy Barn will ever contact me to fix his Woody doll? Probably not. But I'm very happy with how this Woody doll is turning out, because I honestly do love the playware. I love toys who's been formerly loved and taken out of the boxes and played with, because that's honestly what they were made for, was to be loved and played with. And I want everybody to understand something, like toys are lucky if they're revered. Not every toy becomes a collectible. And if a toy becomes a collectible, there really must be something very special about them. And that doesn't come from their value, that comes from what they mean to you. As honestly, a toy's value only means as much as what you're willing to pay for it. And you can think of it as an investment, but that's really not what it is. It's almost as if like a toy's spirit speaks to you, which is the magic of toy collecting. And maybe why a toy such as this one is highly revered by the children who would have played with it. So I might start off up here. This leads me to my question for my audience.
Those wonderful people out there in the dark.
What are some of your favorite childhood toys? Ones that bring you back with so much nostalgia that you wish you had or still have? And I'm talking any toy here. Let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know why it's your favorite and what makes it so special to you. I would really like to know. I'm often on this channel talking about all of my favorites, but I hardly ever get to hear any of your favorites. And this favorite could be from your childhood or your adult collection. Is there anything you had or wish you had? Let me know. It's as if it never happened. Okay, we're gonna start the repainting process. Since it's been a while since I've worked on this Woody doll, I did take quite a bit of a break from working on him to work on some other projects. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the areas that need to be painted. And to do that, you will need rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is the best whenever you are trying to do a nice little clean, a nice little restoration project, let me tell you. It gets off more than soap and water, and it's also a good tester to see if an area of your toy had been repainted previously. So I'm just going to rub this around his face like so. Get all the places. There we go. Just get some right around here. So it's a little bit dirty, but this is a good way just to get off all of that excess grime and such. Now, something you don't want to do is use this on like a vintage doll like from the 50s, and use it sparingly on Barbie from the 60s. But the reason you don't want to is because toys were different back then. A lot of those toys, especially the painted plastic ones, have painted body limbs, and some of those are not sealed, so you do want to be careful. Now, I don't know what kind of sealant companies use to make the paint stay on longer and faster and better, but I do have my own sealant that I think that I'm going to use for him, and it is the Model Master acrylic, and I'm actually going to use this sparingly on him because, again, it dries differently. But what you could also do is you could use this to dilute some of your acrylic paint as well as water, and that will work just as well. Now, the thing about this, you actually do want to wait until you touch the painted object for a couple hours or more, because this turns paint very goopy, so I don't recommend using this all over for like an all over sealant. It's not really good for that. It's good for little spots. Now, this is the matte one. On the top I wrote matte. It does not dry completely matte. It does kind of give like a glossy finish like what this has. It makes no sense to me, but that is the way that it is. So the colors that we are going to use today are going to be white, red, brown, and gold and black. So these are the colors that we're going to use, and these will fix everything that ails this Woody doll. I like to use any acrylics that I can find, but if you are interested in to know what kind of a paint I am using, I'm using Master's Touch, which is a Hobby Lobby brand. So if you do have Hobby Lobby around you, then that'll work fine. But any of like these liquid paints like this, liquid acrylic paints would work. They don't have to be Master's Touch. I've had these Master Touch paints for quite some time. You do have to be careful with some of them because some of them do have pigments in them that bleed onto vinyls and plastics and such. So this red should be fine, but there is a red that has an ingredient that will make the paint bleed onto the vinyl, which is not a good look. So yeah, let's get into repainting this Woody doll. So what I'm going to start off with are Woody's white buttons as white because I like to take my time with repainting, and I like to do multiple layers so that way it looks airbrushed, as these white buttons were airbrushed. So let's go ahead and just do little light layers of white right here. We're just doing a little bit of patchwork. Now it looks like the white that I chose is a little bit too bright, so we might actually have to mix a gray in with the white, because as you can see, it's kind of standing out like a sore thumb. But this should be fine as far as patchwork goes. But when you do your first layer, especially with white, and you do dilute it, you will find that it is very opaque, which means the more that you keep adding on to the wet white paint, the more it runs risk of being either streaky and or just not looking good. So you do want to wait for it to completely dry from your first coat to get started on your second coat. But since I know that this white is a little too bright for him, what I'm going to do with the second coat is I'm going to dilute this with some sort of a pigment, possibly a little bit of a blue or a gray, and then mix it to that perfect white color. I think that I have done a perfect match for this. Let's see, we're just gonna paint over our patch right here. And what do we think? That's pretty close. I think that's a pretty close match. So I think that we found a really good match here. The more diluted with water your paint will be, the more airbrushed it will seem. As I said before in my videos, most of these toys are airbrushed, so you don't want your restorations where you repainted them to appear streaky. Now these were probably all bumped up and scraped up because of them not being sealed to begin with. So I can't get over how much of a match that is. The same trick that we used for his buttons, we're going to implement right here for his jewel. So I'm gonna go in with my red. And I think that this is just a straight up color match, but I could be wrong. Hope it is. We're just gonna go on top of that little jewel right there and make sure that it is fully painted. Now, I do think that this doll was played with. I don't think it was like how it was foretold to me by the seller, but again, I think I paid like 20 bucks for this. Can't really remember, but there we go. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same work on his gold details right here. So I'm going to do a thin coat. I've mixed a yellow with a brown, and then I have mixed gold flakes in there to give it a metallic-like finish. There you go, just do a little bit. Now this is very diluted. I'll have to take a couple coats. It's so intriguing how Woody was the original intended villain for Toy Story, and how that original intention kind of like crept through the original movie ever so slightly. But clearly he had been changed to become the beloved hero that we all know and love. So now I'm gonna go to the back, like where he has his little spurs, start to paint those as well. Again, for best results, dilute that paint. On to the hair, so we're gonna do the same thing that we did before. I've mixed yellow and brown together, two different browns, and I got what I think is a really good match. So we're just gonna dilute it. Oh wow, that's like a seamless match. I hope it dries, this color too. So this is before they actually put, like in the movie, like where he had like the stripes going on in his hair. This is before this company in particular decided to do that for him as well. So just gonna go in again, just put it where it needs it. Now that Woody's paint job is done, we're gonna go on to the sealant. So I'm gonna take some of my sealant right here. I'm going to rub it down like so. and I'm going to put it where I painted areas of Woody. So I painted his eyebrows, right up there, painted just along the ridge right up here. Now you want to dilute this because this right here can get very streaky very easy, so just want to graciously put it on the stuff that you just painted. You don't want to go back in, dip in more, dip in more, dip in more, and one layer ought to do it too, folks, with this stuff, because the more you layer it, the more streaky and ugly and awful it gets. And that is just going to set it into this doll's vinyl really well. It almost acts like a glue. Now granted, I'm going to do it all over his painted features that we repainted just to ensure that they are good to go for the future. So now Woody is all sealed. All of his little painted details have been all touched up. And now he's ready for his bandana. And then, to be honest, he's good to go. And here we have him all restored. We'll go ahead and take off his hat so we can do a little inspection. There's his charming little face. We'll go around to the back. I did leave this original cello on his neck because his bandana has stained his neck, so I went ahead and just left it on there. Put down. And there's where we restored. You can hardly tell where it is. You would need a keen eye. You did honestly have to know that we did. The padding does feel good. He must have been missing some in there, or maybe he just didn't have any. On later editions of Woody, they were not postable like this doll is right here. He is fully wired, so he is able to be posed in many different ways. So that way, I guess he could be considered almost an action figure. But his legs bend as well. There you go. There's his boots with the spurs. There is something written underneath his boots, so if this was your original Woody doll, let me know down in the comments, and thank you for the contribution. I do absolutely adore him, but of course, let's go ahead and take him off this little crappy stand, and let's hear him talk. But first, let's put on his hat. Boop.
Yeehaw, cowboy! There's a snake in my boot. Howdy, partner. My name's Woody. You're my favorite deputy. Yeehaw, cowboy!
There you have it. There is Woody back to his former glory. He is such a treat to have, and I'm so happy to finally have him all fixed up and all done up, and he's just in time for Christmas. Here is the Woody doll and the Bo Peep together at last, so you can see them like as far as like scale goes. This is my childhood Bo Peep. She looks way better than what she used to look like, let me tell you. I restored her probably like 4 years ago. I found her pieces all over the country, let me tell you, because I lost them. The only thing that really survived from my original Bo Peep is the doll itself. The rest of it is all just like found everywhere, from here and there and everywhere. I found this doll's hat in Kentucky. I found her dress in Tennessee. I found her petticoat and her bloomers in Florida. I found her shoes in Florida, and I found her staff in Florida. So she has been sourced everywhere. She's still missing her sheep, so little Bo Peep is missing her sheep, but I do have one that's mint in the box in my closet, and it can stay there in the box. I kept it in the box because it's such a nostalgic toy for me to have. This was probably one of my earliest toys that I can remember. I was definitely too young to really play with it and enjoy it and understand who and what it was, but she wore plenty of Barbie clothes, let me tell you. And I'm so happy now to have the Woody that would have gone along with her. The best part about this Woody doll is that he's so poseable, so you can like pose them together and make him come a little bit more alive than later editions who were just stuffed like a rag doll. But I am so thrilled to have him. I'm so thrilled to have her. They are definitely permanent parts of my collection. Toy Story means a lot to many people. Maybe it's the first movie you watched. Maybe it was your introduction to Disney. Maybe they were your first toys. For many, it's the blueprint for what animation is today. For whatever the reason, Toy Story remains a special film in people's hearts and minds. For me, it transports me into my childhood innocence, where it was so easy to believe that anything can be possible. Even talking toys. Toys who would cherish you. Toys who would look forward to seeing you. And toys that would love you. Although Toy Story has changed, one thing remains. The love one has for one's toy. And the love that's shared when we use our imagination. Although Toy Story has changed, one thing remains. The love one has for one's toy. And the love that's shared when we use our imagination. At some point in our growth, we are told to stifle that imagination, often by people who lack it. Although it's nice to be realistic about some aspects in life, it's also important to dream, because you never know the friends and family you can meet along the way. So next time someone is putting a cap on your imagination, send them this video. That way they too can spend an hour of their life watching this video, an hour that they'll never get back, to only realize they've been got. From being the first fully computer animated film to being one's comfort movie, one thing can remain. The love one has for our toys, childhood, imagination, and hope. Something I hope we never lose sight of. So next time you see your favorite toy or loved one, give them a big hug, because it may mean just as much to them as they do to you.
Oh, that's nice.
I hope you do enjoy this video, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day and a very merry and festive Christmas. I just appreciate you all so much. It's been such a fun little year for me, very enlightening, and I just can't wait to see you all again next year. Thank you all so much once again, and stay fabulous. And also, have a magical day. Bye.
You can bring home the adventure of Disney's Toy Story, now on video, with the talking and posable figures of Woody and Buzz Lightyear.
My name's Woody. Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace.
Cool, he glows in the dark.
Meet intergalactic Buzz Lightyear. His new spacesuit protects him from evil proton rays and comes equipped with a flip-up arm communicator.
Buzz Lightyear to the rescue.
Firing missiles on target.
Buzz Lightyear and Woody figures are each sold separately. Batteries are included from Thinkway.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. Remember, please discard all candy wrappers and popcorn containers in the nearest trash receptacle. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Are they all gone? Is everybody gone? Huh? Good. Oh my gosh, my cheeks are killing me. I can't keep smiling like this anymore. I am exhausted. I think I need a break. A little break? Okay. Phew.